a good ball. The flag stays down. Heaney! Oh!
They scored again! It's Davis again! It's job done now.
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the Northern Ireland podcast with Adam Johnson, Andy McComb and special guest, if you are watching, Michael O'Neill. Obviously coming up is our next double header against Estonia and Belarus, and today we have a great preview podcast for you.
We're going to be hearing from Liam Boyce and new call-up Mark Sykes. Also we'll be getting a bit of an insight from Stephen Cragen into the latest squad announcement. And then finally we'll be finishing up going into the GAWA Zone, and we're going to be hearing from a couple of you to tell us a little about your travel arrangements for the next two games.
So first up we have our most recent call up to the squad, former Glenavon midfielder, now Northern Ireland international, Mark Sykes.
Okay, so Mark, firstly we'll get straight into it. Just how did it feel to get your first call up to the senior squad?
No, obviously it was unreal. I can remember Gavin said to me a few months ago, he was basically saying like it'll not be long before Michael obviously calls upon you and stuff, and I was asked him like, are you serious and stuff? He said yeah, and then I think it's well known now that I had a holiday and stuff booked, and I did never think that I got a message to be asked to go, and obviously I got an email and I'd sort of cancelled the holiday and changed it to a different date, and I'd obviously went to the two camps, which is more than happy to do, and I'm very thankful that I've went there.
And when were you actually told by Michael O'Neill, or when were you informed that you were going to be in the actual full squad for this double header coming up?
Michael told me a day before the squad was announced. He said, listen, we're going to bring you on Sunday, and obviously I was delighted and stuff, and I trained well that day, and then I told my family sort of just to keep it to themselves that he was going to put me in the squad, and it came out yesterday obviously, and I'm more than happy to be involved, and I'm glad to see how things go.
And that holiday then, was that a family one, or was it one with the other half? Or
yeah, it was obviously it was for me and my girlfriend, but she was really understanding about it and stuff, and
you're not
she
in the
was like
doghouse then, no?
100% just go on the camp, and at the end of the day there's always going to be more time for a holiday, but there'll never maybe ever a chance to go on another training camp or be a chance for an hour to get in another squad, so I think it was an easy choice at the end of the day.
And how much did it mean to you, kind of this rise that you've probably heard all about? Obviously you're the one that's been living it, from Glenavon to Oxford to Northern Ireland International, all in 6 months. How has that all been for you? Has it been a whirlwind?
No, but obviously when I found out that Oxford were interested, like it was a bit of a relief, because at one point I was meant to go to Port Vale, and I would have been going on my own, which is more than happy to do, but I can remember Gavin rang me one morning, I think it was a Sunday morning, he said, listen, have you signed for Port Vale? And I was like, not yet, and he said, just hold off on it, because Oxford's going to make a bid, and then about an hour or two later it was done, and I was basically told that in a couple of days that to go to Oxford, and that was me. So it was a bit surreal, but no, obviously I was delighted to go and join Oxford, and it was always going to boost my profile, especially in terms of Michael recognising me. And I can remember after the Slovakia game for the under-21s, Michael said, like, you better not be playing in the Irish League in 6 months, and I think I've done that, and now that I'm at Oxford and I'm involved with a senior team, and I think it's only good for me.
I think obviously from, at home, and then obviously the under-21s and at Oxford as well, you and Gavin seem to be on the same sort of timeline in your careers. How much does it help you, this sort of kind of romance that you have going on? How much does that help you, being alongside each other?
No, it's brilliant. To be fair, it's a bit of competition as well. I suppose when I see him doing well, like, I obviously want to match it or do better, and likewise for him, or likewise for me, sorry. So if I'm doing well, I'm sure he wants to do better, and it's a bit of healthy competition, and especially with Gavin Ireland and Oxford, and coming from the Irish League, like you say, it's a similar profile, and like I said earlier, it's when he told me that it would be long before I was involved in the full time or the international setup. Then I was obviously delighted, but it's nice that me and him have done or went through the same pathway, sort of thing, and I think it gives a bit of belief to other players coming through the Irish League that it can be done, and especially with the both of us doing it just most recently, it's really good, and no, I'm delighted.
And what do you hope to get then from this double header? If you don't make it onto the pitch, is it just about taking the experience in and just starting to learn what it's like to be an international footballer and the process that is involved in all that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't expect to go and play 290 minutes or play minutes at all, but if Michael wants to call upon me, I know I'll be more than ready. And when I went to the training camp as well, I thought maybe Michael just wants to have a look at me and see what I'm about. And thankfully, I've done myself good. And maybe if there's anything that happens to the players who Michael has in mind to starting games, and I know fine ready that I'll be there to do what he needs, and it'll be a tough game out in Estonia and Belarus, especially being away from home. But I kept an eye on the home games, and no, like I say, I think I'll do well if Michael needs me.
And does it give you a bit of a boost seeing that Michael does have previous for giving youth a chance, with the likes of Paul Smith and Gavin White being brought on and taking their chances?
Yeah, I think I can remember me and the rest of the under-21 squad went to the South Korea game where Paul came on for about 5-10 minutes and he ended up scoring and stuff, and I remember turning around to a few boys and being like, that's crazy that the other day he was training with us, and next thing he's scoring for the first team, you know what I mean? And the same with Gavin, I think we were out in Spain at the time and we beat Spain that day, and I think Gavin scored that night, and I can remember texting and stuff saying that's unreal, but it's obviously something that I really want to replicate, and it can only give me as a player and in my career a massive boost if I'm involved with a senior international team. And I can remember speaking to somebody the other day and they were saying, like, I'm not too sure if Oxford has had that many senior international players, so I'm sure it's something that they'll be delighted about as well.
And speaking of Oxford, is the hope now obviously to really cement that place now for the whole of next season in League One? Yeah,
definitely. Obviously that I went there last year and I went in January, it was always going to be tough to work my way in the starting team with a manager having already 5-6 months of games under his belt and having a fair idea of who his strongest squad was. But I think I done myself a lot of favours when I came on to games or when I started games, and I've been getting quite a lot of good feedback from fans and from people watching games, and I'm sure it'll only stand me in good stead. But obviously my main aim is to be in the starting 11 every week next season, and that's at the end of the month, and when we go back into pre-season, and that's where it starts. But my main focus is on the two Northern Ireland games coming up, and making myself sort of well known amongst the squad and doing well.
You mentioned the other day with Gavin that while you were living with Gavin, it was chicken strips for dinner. Has the diet changed then over the weeks?
No, it's improved a bit. I don't think me and Gavin were the best at cooking, and I think we were just getting along, and that was about it. But like I said in previous interviews, we've had our families coming over for weeks, and they've obviously looked after us rightly, and to be fair, we've went out every now and then and had out in restaurants and stuff, but that's something we need to improve on, and I'm sure it'll come in time.
Absolutely. Well, thanks very much, Mark. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. And,
no worries, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Cheers.
Alright, cheers, bye.
Okay, great stuff there from Mark Sykes. And now, next up, we're going to hear from a striker bang in form, Liam Boyce.
Right, so Liam, thanks for joining us on the Northern Ireland podcast. First of all, have to ask, obviously named in another Northern Ireland squad, how much does it mean to you to be involved for these double headers?
Yeah, it's brilliant, especially like it's just such important games, and like it's just good to carry on the season, like, because sort of towards the end they were starting to score goals again, and when it's sort of like that, you don't really want the season to stop. So hopefully you can keep that going and we can get 2 good results and look forward to next year's fixtures as well.
Liam, would you say it's a fair comment to say that you're the in-form striker going into these next 2 games?
Well, yeah, like I've probably played the most out of all the strikers sort of in the squad so far, and I sort of went through a bad bit of form, to be fair, as well, and I think Big Joss scored a couple of goals as well. He's obviously playing at a higher level, like championship, and it's just because I scored them 5 goals towards the end of the season, probably most in form, and especially because when you play more, a bit more match sharpness. But to be fair, it doesn't really sort of in training you have to show, because Michael doesn't see you that much during the year, and so when you come into M2 training camps and obviously training from Sunday next week, like, he doesn't see you, so you need to show him what you can do in them training sessions. And he always says, like, we do watch you, but when you come in, it's your chance to sort of put your name forward to get a starting spot. So I don't really look at it as if I'm the most in form. You just need to keep carrying that form on into training and showing him what you can do.
And how does that work in terms of when it comes to the competition for places? You say it's all about what you do when you arrive. Do you feel like there is obviously that big competition then in the weeks building up to the games, as there has been in Manchester, obviously?
Yeah, like, cause it sort of like, especially in them training camps, like even when I was for the Euros and I didn't get picked, you sort of come in and I was sort of out of form at that time, and you needed, even if you're playing your club, like you're still, like Big Lass is like scored all sorts of goals for Northern Ireland as well, and he hasn't sort of played a lot of games recently, but he's coming in and he's a proven goal scorer at international level as well, so you know he's a great player. It doesn't matter, so all managers think differently. I don't know why he's not playing, you know what I mean, but for me, if I want to start ahead of him, I need to show who can do what he can do, or try and show that he can do better like that and change Michael's mind.
And obviously over the last few games and even the Nations League as well, you've had a lot of chances that you know you maybe look at saying, oh, we probably should have put those away. Does that make you hungry going into these next 2 games, thinking, yeah, we're going to turn these chances into goals now?
Yeah, I think sort of the last maybe year and a bit, like the way we've been playing, like qualifying for the Euros, we've been playing like 5 at the back and stuff, and it like sort of it's like evolved as a team, and we know we're trying to play more football, and we're sort of having lots more possession of the ball, and it's just coming down to some of take our chances now, which is good to be a part of. Like Northern Ireland teams in the past, you wouldn't have really seen them dominate the ball, but it's just been like trying to counter attack and all. So it's just good to be a part of like sort of that new style of play, and it helps you as well. Like when you go to international, you're playing against better players, and sort of the microscope's more on you, and every touch is more important. Sort of like you don't get away with anything. And when you're going in, you're like drilled, and you know exactly what you're doing. You know it's just down to you, and it's just great to be a part of, and you just take a chance to show that you can play at that level.
And how confident is the team about, you know, creating those chances away from home? You know, as you said about, and everyone's been saying about this new style that Michael's implemented into the team. Is that something that you hope then will help you cross over the line in these 2 away games?
Yeah, 100%. I think was it against Belarus that they scored that sort of deflected goal?
Yeah.
We were winning 1-0, and like we were sort of like sort of dominating the game, and then even when that goal went in, I think like the stadium went a bit quiet. I suppose that's like testament, like, you know, how well we have been doing. Like we're expected to beat teams now, whereas before it was always going to be like 50-50. You didn't know if you were going to win or not, but just the way we're playing, we're dominating games and creating chances, and I think it's sort of a bit of a shock that we were drawing 1 each because we were playing so well in that game, and obviously Big Joss got the goal at the end, and it makes it even better it was that late. But you just need to keep riding them, like that wave of momentum, and how we're playing, keep doing it and keep believing in it, and then eventually it's going to click, and we'll just start taking more chances. The more games we play, and the more you get used to other players. So yeah, it's just great to be a part of, really.
And just going back to the squad announcement, obviously as someone that has came from the Irish League yourself, how good is it to see the likes of Sykes and Smith and White coming through the Irish League as well and getting themselves into the squad?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like when we came into the first sort of training camp, like obviously Gareth's been brilliant, but seeing him in training, how good he's been, like it's sort of like a breath of fresh air. Like they're sort of coming in, like haven't been in a lot of squads, and sort of have like they don't have any fear of anyone. Like they don't care who they're playing against. They just play the same way. Like they don't go into shell or anything. Even like Mark Sykes was unbelievable when he came in like sort of the training camp last week for it being his first time. Like you would think he was a bit shy, a bit nervous, but just was coming in, getting on the ball as if he'd been there a couple of years and been in all sorts of squads. So I think it sort of lifts everyone else, like because they're young and like the energy they have and the way they play the game, taking people on, sort of gives everyone an extra lift as well. Just to see new faces and like you see how good they are, and you're like, geez, I may start upping my game if I want to stay in the squad, really.
And do you feel like you're someone obviously that can help them in terms of integrating now into the international squad as well? You've gone through that process yourself?
Not even just that, like I sort of knew them outside of football, like we live really close and like they're actually from the same area where my girlfriend's from, so like I've knew them outside football anyway, so I got on well with them outside football, and they come in. And Mark Sykes, it's actually, we were talking about it the last time, like our school we went to, St Mary's on the Glen Road, Mark Sykes went there and the two McLaughlin bros, so it's sort of been easy for them to blend in really, because like, we all went to the same school and our sports scientists went to our school as well, so yeah, they've just been welcomed easy, and it was just sort of seamless the way they come into the squad and just get on with everyone.
Does it almost seem surreal sometimes when people that you've been so close to growing up are you're now out there playing for Northern Ireland together?
Yeah, especially as our school was like sort of like Gaelic and hurling only. We didn't have a football team. Like I was actually part of the first football team we had.
So finally, just to finish, obviously these double headers, people are saying, do you agree that it's kind of we need 6 points from these going ahead, looking ahead to Germany and Holland?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's such important games. That's what, like I was saying before, the first two games, like we need to win the first two games to get ourselves a good start, because you've seen that sort of happening when we qualified for the Euros. Like we've done really well to start, and it's all about momentum in football. And like when, like obviously the Germany and Holland games are going to be massive and difficult games, but if you're on a good run of form and the fans see you playing well and winning games, they sort of give you that extra lift, and you just need to get the momentum going and keep riding, see how far it takes you, and you never know. So we know how important these two games are, and they're in a difficult like time in June, and I think they're in the mid-season sort of, or their season's just starting, so it'll be sort of more difficult than the last two times we played them. But we've had them training camps and we're all looking sharp, and we've got new faces in, and it's exciting to be a part of. So we'll just try and get the two results and look forward to the big ones.
Well, thank you for your time, Liam. Away from walking your Labrador, thank you for that. Yep. Have a good trip, and we'll be looking forward to you coming home with 6 points, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Let's hope so.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Right. Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So we've heard from Mark Sykes and Liam Boyce in the current squad, but now we're going to hear from a former international of ours turned podcast pundit, and that is Stephen Cragen. Stephen, thanks for giving us your time here. Obviously, first of all, we had the squad announced recently. You have any thoughts on that, or anything that surprised you, or anything that you liked that you saw?
No, nothing's really surprised me. I think the fact that Michael continually goes back to the same players tells you, one, that he's happy with what he's got, and two, that the players are happy to be involved and turn up, even though it's the time of the year what it is. The middle of June can be a difficult time of year because a lot of these guys have played football for the past 12 months. I mean, last year they were in Panama, I think in Costa Rica, with the international setup. They've had a long club season, so it's easy for players sometimes to put their feet up and think, I don't want to go. But it tells me more that they enjoy working with Michael. They enjoy, turning out and playing for Northern Ireland, and they feel that there's something just around the corner again, but which they wouldn't want to miss out on. So I think naturally you look for younger lads coming in. Jordan Thompson involved again. Mark Sykes getting his first call up is always helpful. Paul Smith back involved again. So I think out with that, the squad was always going to pick itself.
Okay, so if we take a look at the goalkeepers, I think not so long ago we were talking about our goalkeeper situation, being a real headache for us in terms of they're the best kind of quality of goalkeeping options we've had in a long time. And fast forward to now, pretty much, well, every goalkeeper we have in the squad there is essentially playing a number 2 role at their club. What do you think that's going to give Michael a bit of a headache, or what would you do yourself?
Well, if I'm honest, ahead of the first 2 qualifiers, it was probably something similar. I think Bailey had just lost his place at Leeds. Michael McGovern, had been used to being a number 2. Trevor Carson was injured, so I generally thought he would have went with Michael in the first 2 qualifiers just because of experience, because Bailey might have been disappointed not playing at Leeds. It may have affected him. So I'll be honest, he caught me probably a little bit unawares when he picked Bailey in the 2 games, but his performance in both of those games, and he had big saves at crucial times that got us 6 points. So I don't think he'll steer away from Bailey again. Naturally he's probably been speaking to him. He's probably been trying to keep his head up at times, because as a young player it's easy to lose heart. But again, when you're not playing for your club and there's international games on the horizon, it gives you a buzz. Things step up because you've got a chance of playing first team football again. So I think Michael, being used to being a number 2, signing a new contract at Norwich, probably isn't going to change his situation. So he probably won't expect to come and play. Conor Hazard's just young. I watched him at Partick Thistle a couple of times. He's done quite well. But I would expect Bailey to play again.
And moving on to what would be your specialist subject in the defence, we have to speak of Aaron Hughes, your old teammate as well. Michael said yesterday how Aaron always has a place in our squad if he wants to turn up. How do you see that? You obviously know him up close and you've played with him. How do you think he's still going so strong as well?
Well, actually, I was speaking to him last weekend just before the Scottish Cup final. Hearts against Celtic. He was involved in the Hearts squad. He wasn't stripped, but I spoke to him just before it. So we're just kind of asking his mindset of what he's thinking about. And he said he wanted to go away with the international setup. He said he enjoys it. I think he enjoys that responsibility of speaking to younger players and almost being a father figure for them, to say, if you stick in at your career, if you push yourself, you can end up being like him. I think 112 caps. So he probably doesn't expect to play. But it would be nice somewhere along the line for him to get a farewell from Northern Ireland. Currently standing the most capped outfield player. Is that right? I think he is just ahead of Steve Davis. I imagine Steve will catch him at some stage. So, listen, Aaron's a terrific man, first and foremost, a terrific guy. Football ability people speak about, but I think I always like to look at someone as a person, a terrific individual, very selfless, puts others before himself. And I think this is the situation. I mean, you have to think back. He retired in 2012. The influence of Michael got him back involved again. Now it's almost like they can't get rid of him, because he's enjoying himself so much. He feels there's something good. He always wanted to go to a major championships. I remember speaking about it. We used to room together, and thankfully he got the reward of going to Euro 2016. So I think having him around the place, as I say, young players having that figurehead to think, that's how you conduct yourself, that's how you eat, that's how you live, that's how you treat your professional career. And at the age of 39, you can still be involved in international football. So a wonderful individual, and I just hope he gets a send off somewhere along the line that he probably deserves.
And I think the back four, as we say, kind of picks itself almost. But at right back, you have Paddy McNair's played there, Michael Smith's played there, Conor McLaughlin obviously in the squad as well. You obviously see Michael Smith a lot at Hearts. What would you say that role? Who have you been impressed with?
Well, Stuart Dallas played well the last ones, but with Niall McGinn being out, I would maybe expect Stuart to play one up. I would expect Stuart maybe to play in a forward role in the right hand side, potentially. Or Jordan Jones switch the sides, either one. And potentially Michael Smith, I thought in the Nations League he done very well. I thought he looked composed. He looked like he'd been there for years in the international setup. He obviously had the injury and missed the first 2 qualifiers, which would have been a disappointment for him and a disappointment for Michael. So, Jamal Lewis will play left back. The 2 Rolls Royce centre halves, Johnny and Craig, are just a joy to watch. They allow you to play the style of play that Michael wants. They allow you to start the game. They allow you to, build from the back. They've got that kind of no-nonsense approach when they're under pressure. But, just how they handle the ball is terrific. So, that's the day we'll play. I would expect Michael Smith to play just, because he done well in the Nations League, and that'll be fresh in Michael's mind. The fact he dropped Stuart Dallas in the right back row and didn't play Conor McLaughlin would tell me that, Conor's not in his thoughts at the minute. Probably in his thoughts, but not in a starting berth. And with Michael's season getting extended and playing in the Scottish Cup final last weekend, match fitness is probably slightly further ahead. So I'd expect Michael Smith to play.
And just moving on to the midfield, in the last couple of squads, Stephen Davis he was struggling for minutes with Southampton and then Rangers, and for the first time really people had maybe been whispering that he might lose his starting 11 spot in the squad. But now that he's kind of came back into the Rangers setup and their record with him in the team is obviously very good, would you say that kind of re-cements his place as a mainstay in the starting 11?
I would love to know who it was whispering, because if they know anything about football, then they would realise Steve Davis is vital to Northern Ireland. And I think even when he hasn't been playing, when he's turned up on the international scene, he's probably been close enough to being our best player. So again, that tells you as an experienced player how he looks after himself, how he's prepared to go and do a little bit extra, but he's not in the team. So Steve Davis, I think if he's fit and available, playing or not playing at his club, would always be a number one choice in our midfield. So listen, Steve will play. I think naturally it'll help him. He will probably feel that he's got a lot left in his legs this season because he hasn't played a lot of games. There's no surprise for me that Rangers results had a little bit of an upturn when Steve eventually got himself into the team. He signed an extra year's contract there. So, all things being good, we need our core players fit and available. We need Johnny Evans and Craig Cathcart and Steve Davis. That's three players who we need fit and available in our team. And if they are, then we always feel we can win games.
And obviously over our last few games, we've had a lot of chances. There's been a lot of attacking football, but a lot of our strikers in the squad maybe aren't getting a lot of minutes. The standout one there is probably Liam Boyce. Would you say that he's an obvious choice for Michael up front?
Well, it's funny the phrase you used there, that a lot of our players haven't got a lot of minutes. That probably sums up the striking role, really, doesn't it? It's frustrating because there's been so many good things happening. The build-up play's been good, and there's no doubt strikers, when they aren't playing, they lose that edge a little bit. And they lose their confidence a little bit, and they want to be hitting the back of the net. So, Josh, you always know what you get. He's a terrific athlete, poses problems, full of heart, full of determination. Popped up with a great late goal against Belarus, so no doubt he'll be in Michael's mind. Kyle hasn't really played enough for that, which is frustrating. I had a look earlier. Kyle hasn't played since the 20th of April. And even prior to that, he wasn't getting a lot of minutes. International football was almost keeping him fit in March. So, Boise, if you're going to go on who scored goals, you'd go with Liam. I think he's got 4 goals in his last 8 club games, so he'd be the one. But it's funny, if Michael could put those 3 together and come up with one player, it would be the ideal player for them. Someone with a bit of pace, someone with a goal-scoring pedigree, someone with a hold-up, link-up play. So he's probably a little bit disjointed at the top end of the pitch. That's probably his concern. Listen, I've never been free scoring. We've never scored 25, 30 goals in a campaign. We've always relied on 1-0s and 2-1s somewhere along the line. So I expect that these 2 games will be the same. Michael would judge them all in training, see who's fit and available. But at this minute, I would have no idea who to pick.
So I'm sure you've done the away doubleheader in your time, and we all kind of been saying the build up to this how difficult it's going to be or how hard it's going to be, because it's 2 away games. Obviously it's going to be harder than it would be at home, but how much in reality do you think that actually affects the players?
Well, if you win your first game, it doesn't. Simple as. If you go to Estonia and win, the second game can't come quick enough. It becomes a long time when you go away and you lose your first game and you think, everyone's a bit low and a bit disappointed. So that's why it's crucial to go to Estonia, and pick up the 3 points. And there's no doubt we can beat them. We watched them at Belfast, and they weren't overly ambitious. They didn't really want to come and have a go. I know Bailey had a big save at 1-0, I think it was, but they didn't really want to come and have a go. They came not to get beat heavily. So if they change their approach and they want to come out in a home game and open themselves up a little bit more, then that probably suit our style of play. We'll have a bit of pace in the counter attack and we can go and hurt them. So I think just winning games. The lads have been away long enough. This squad's been together long enough. They've won games at home. They've won games away. And it's slightly different because you're out of the UK for such a long period of time. But as I say, go and win the first game. Go and get the positive mindset right. Stay top of the table, and the second game will take care of itself.
And just to put you on the spot, what's your predictions for the next 2 games?
Do you know what? I don't really care what the predictions are. If we come out with 6 points, irrespective of other results in June, we stay top of the table. The aim is to get 6 points out of 6 in the first 2 games. The boys managed to achieve it. the next game will have been to have 12 out of 12, because on the horizon you've got Germany and Holland to play. So you want to be in a good frame of mind. You want to have 12 points. I think if we don't have 12 points, it means we'll have to beat one of them and maybe take points off another one. If you have your 12 points, it means you can maybe just beat one. That could almost be enough for you to be in and around that second place. So if we don't get 6 points, it's going to make it really difficult. But I'm confident and positive that, irrespective of what the results are, or score predictions, I think we'll win both games.
Sounds good to us.
Yeah, sounds. We'll go with that. That's perfect. Well, thank you very much for your time, Stephen.
Thank you.
No problem.
Take care, and we'll speak to you again soon. Cheers.
Cheers, boys. All the best. Thanks. Cheers. Bye-bye.
So now it's time to hear a little about some of the epic journeys that you guys are going to be going through for the next 2 games. Let's go into the GAWA Zone.
So now we're joined on the phone by our first Northern Ireland fan, who is making a crazy trip to Estonia and Belarus, Gareth McCarter. How are you, Gareth?
Not so bad, thanks.
So obviously we asked people to send in what trip they were making to our next doubleheader, and you sent in one that caught our eye straight away. So can you let everyone know kind of what your itinerary is?
Well, football isn't everything. So before that, we're leaving Dublin on Wednesday morning to go to Nottingham to watch a Cricket World Cup match. So we're going to be watching Australia versus West Indies at Trent Bridge on Thursday. After that, hopefully we'll be fit to catch a bus on Friday morning. That'll take us from Nottingham to Heathrow. From Heathrow, we'll fly to Helsinki, and we'll arrive in Helsinki at some stage late on Friday night and get the short flight over to Tallinn on the early hours of Saturday morning. Hopefully we'll be there in time to watch the match, watch the Northern Ireland win on Saturday evening. We've got all day on Sunday without any travelling, and then on Monday morning we get a boat from Tallinn back to Helsinki, where we'll have a very quick dash to Helsinki Airport, and from Helsinki Airport we then fly to Minsk, where hopefully the majority of the travelling will end. Obviously there's another bus then to Borisov for match day, and then from Minsk we'll fly back to Amsterdam, and then we'll fly back to there. I'm flying back to Belfast, and my mate is flying back to Dublin, where he has to watch Fleetwood Mac this day fortnight. So it's all happening.
That's fantastic. And just how much effort and planning goes into to making a trip like that?
Well, the Cricket World Cup fixtures were all set out last autumn, so we had booked these tickets. We're actually going over as mate's 40th, so this was a trip was organised between, there's 8 of us going over from Armagh Cricket Club to watch the World Cup game. And then when the draw came out in December for the European qualifiers, it sort of coined on us. That's an international date as well, and we just sort of, between myself and Philip Doyle, my sort of travelling companion, we sort of thought, like, is it going to be feasible to do all of this? And like, we've actually said for years we've always wanted to go to Estonia if we ever got through there again. So that was one. And then he says, like, Belarus, it's not that far away. Little did we know. So what we did after one of our City of Armagh Northern Ireland Supporters Club meetings, we just more or less sat in the bar and worked it all out. We're on our phones, we're on Expedia, we brought a laptop, we're booking boats, booking buses, booking our ferry, getting the flights all sorted. So it more or less took one night of hammering it all together, and we came up with that sort of magnificent itinerary.
Have to ask, how then, kind of what motivates you to keep, obviously putting all that effort to come to these 2 games? It's not just you're getting on a plane and landing in the destination, you're going through all this travel to get to each game. Is that just how much it means to you? Is it the thrill of it all?
Well, it's always been like, there's the people in my office and work are always fascinated about like the different places that you're going to, and there is an element of it, like it's places you wouldn't be in otherwise. Like people
probably generally wouldn't be in Belarus otherwise. I know I would follow Glavin quite a bit too, and they got drew away to a team in Belarus a lot of years ago, and they more or less said like it's incredibly difficult to go here, and it's maybe not worth the hassle. And it turned out not to be because they got hammered. But we've travelled around our week travelling group. There's a couple of us have been around quite a bit of Europe, and you're seeing some fantastic places. But obviously, yeah, your motivation is to go and watch Northern Ireland, get behind the boys away from home, and seeing some like weird and wonderful places and unusual ways of travelling is a bonus when you're doing that.
I'd say over the years of being a Northern Ireland fan and following them across the world, I'm sure you've seen some fantastic places. Is there anywhere that kind of shines out amongst the rest, or a story that sticks in your head that you really enjoy?
Well, we sort of talk about this fairly randomly, about the different places we've been. Personal favourites over the years were the trip to Stockholm was I really liked Stockholm. I thought it was a great place, so I wouldn't mind going back there. And we actually got a decent result there as well. We got a 1-1 draw with Kyle Lafferty getting a nice equaliser that night. Like generally the thing about away results too, like I was going through all the away trips last night, and there's not really a whole pile of points coming back with us a lot of the times. Like it's that can be sort of plying a hard enough furrow, the away trips. Bucharest actually a couple of years ago too was a really nice city, and we actually fell in with a taxi driver there who took us on his own tour. So it was very different to the sort of tour you get on one of the big buses when you go abroad. Like he was giving you a bit more of a sort of blood and guts version of like what was the Romanian communist era, which was fairly graphic at times, but he took us to places that wouldn't necessarily been on the big bus route.
And kind of what would be your fondest away trip, whether that be result or place you've been to, I guess?
Well, certainly with Bucharest holds good memories because it was very enjoyable. San Marino twice. I suppose winning in San Marino, there's not too many Northern Ireland away trips that result in a win. Unfortunately, when we qualified, didn't make Greece or Hungary, which were two of the rare away wins. So we didn't get to either of those two, which is a bit disappointing. But those would be, I suppose it's not necessarily results related. Portugal, I suppose, away was a fantastic one too. The night of Ronaldo's 100th cap, and they had the big party for Ronaldo, and so nearly ruined it for them. Like when Nam again scored that cracker, like we all got absolutely drenched in Porto that night. Like it lashed the whole night. It was like not real weather. Or maybe the boys felt at home, but that was a good trip too. It was a decent result and enjoyable place to be in as well, and plenty of port wine too.
So finally, I'm gonna have to put you on the spot. What are your predictions for the upcoming 2 games?
Goodness me. Well, I think we'll beat Estonia. To be honest, I thought they were quite limited at Windsor Park. I think Belarus will be a lot more tricky because they were decent at Windsor, and well, they were maybe a wee bit unfortunate to lose. So I'm going to go for a win in Estonia and maybe a draw in Belarus. How's that?
Perfect. Well, thank you for your time, Gareth.
Thank you, Gareth.
Thanks very much, gents.
Have a safe time, and we look forward to seeing the photos when you come back.
Happy days. I'll hopefully get a few up on Facebook.
All right. Cheers, mate. Take
Enjoy
care.
yourself.
Cheers, fellas.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, Mark, so if you just even want to run us through your travel plans for the next 2 games.
Yeah, no worries. Well, we'll leave Belfast next Friday morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, for travelling down to Dublin. We're then catching a flight from Dublin out to Riga in Latvia. We've got a car hired then from Latvia to take us up to Tallinn, which is about, I think, 4.5 hours journey. Staying in Tallinn for 2 nights, so the day before the game and the day of the game. After that, then we're travelling down to Riga again for a 4.5 hour journey, staying 1 night in Riga. The next day, then travelling down to Vilnius in Lithuania. From there, we'll catch a flight to Minsk, and the rest of the time is in Minsk with the game, and travelling home then from Minsk back to Vilnius on Thursday, the 10th, I think that is. No, sorry, the 13th, and then back into Dublin, back up to Belfast. So pretty hectic, near 7 days travel.
And what has led you onto that kind of schedule? What was the planning like in that one?
Well, whenever the games were announced, we initially had planned to fly into Riga and then drive to all the venues. There's 5 of us going all together, so usually with the away games, that's what we would do. We would just look at the cheapest route possible, hire a car, and then drive to the venues, and just book accommodation from that. So whenever the venues were both announced and the dates were announced, we looked at the cheapest flight price, which was to Riga in Latvia, and we had initially planned then just to fly in and fly out of Riga. Then we came up against the issue of a visa for Belarus, which then we realised that you couldn't drive in and out without a visa, and the only way to get an easier visa was just by flying in and out of Minsk International Airport, which was why now we're driving to Vilnius and going in and out of Minsk from Vilnius.
And obviously we can understand the reason behind this trip, but let's say, for example, whenever you're in one of the many museums or whatever that Riga has to offer, and so you bump into someone and they ask you, why are you doing this? Like, why? What do you say to them?
Just for the love of going and supporting my country and football. To be honest, if it wasn't for football, I probably wouldn't have seen half the places in the world that I've seen. Just for the love of the game and love of going away with the Green and White Army. It's basically like a stag weekend or a stag week for me whenever we go to the places, because we travel as a group of friends and have a few beers, mix them with the locals and mix them with all other Northern Ireland fans, and just have a great time, and for the love of football, and hopefully we get the win, which is what we're all after.
And what would you say then over the years would be a highlight of one of your away trips, a funny story or something that you can share?
There's been that many, to be honest. I think Switzerland, the last game Switzerland for the playoff that we didn't win. I just thought that it was probably one of the best atmospheres, and seeing everybody out in just outside Mr. Pickwick's bar from early on in the morning with the guys with the drums in the absolute pouring down rain, people with next to nothing on apart from their boxer shorts, I thought was probably one of the funniest times and quite hilarious times, with the rain pelting down and people just running about with, like, as I say, little to nothing on and just having a great time. And that'd probably be one of the funniest moments, I thought, just with the atmosphere and what the game meant as well.
Is there any country that you've been to with Northern Ireland that you've maybe thought, do you know what, I'd love to come back here another time, not on a Northern Ireland trip?
I've actually been to quite a lot of the countries with me and my missus, travelling as well. So some countries I had already previously been to, but maybe just not that area of the country. But let me see. Maybe Azerbaijan again with the missus, and the Baku, possibly, just with obviously seeing it again on the TV there during the week, just to see a wee bit more of it, because I didn't really get to see much of it.
And then on to the next games. What are your thoughts ahead of them? Obviously the squad was announced. What do you think of that and of our chances?
Yeah, I'm quietly confident that we'll get the 6 points. I did hear Michael O'Neill saying yesterday that away games possibly a lot harder to get the 6 points than the home games. But with the travelling support, I'd be quite confident that we'll be loud and proud in both venues, that they'll hopefully spur the team on. The squad announcement, we've got the players to do it there. Maybe not just fell at a great time for us with the domestic seasons finishing maybe just a few weeks. So just the fitness element, hopefully Michael's got them in good shape, and just keep the fitness levels high to get the 6 points. But I'd be quietly confident that we hopefully should get the 6 points.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, Mark, I hope those come true, and then, as I was saying, look forward to seeing the holiday snaps then afterwards now.
Yes, no problem at all.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care, Mark.
Yes. All the best now.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Well, thanks to Gareth, McCarter and Mark Foster there for sharing their stories of how they're going to be getting to Estonia and Belarus, and safe travels to all our other members of the Green and White Army who are making the trip out to Estonia and Belarus.
You can catch this podcast and all the others on SoundCloud, iTunes and YouTube. So make sure you join us next time for another Northern Ireland podcast.
Armstrong! Northern Ireland has scored through Jerry Armstrong. It's a good ball, the flag stays down. Heaney! Oh!
They scored again! It's Davis again! It's job done now!